there's a lot of excitement because actually we have inflation data today, but that was a legal requirement. And then we go back to the shutdown and no data. How does the shutdown end?
Yeah, well, nice to be with you. I mean, I think that is the main question for us and for our clients as well. Our concern was that if the government were to shut down, there would be no natural catalyst to reopen the government. If you recall, the longest full shutdown was back in 2013. That was for 16 days. And the catalyst to reopen the government then was in order to raise the debt ceiling. They funded the government and raised the debt ceiling. You fast forward to 2025, and there is no real catalyst. And in fact, it is a little bit eerie. In Washington, folks are incredibly comfortable with their political positions. President Trump, the Republicans, very comfortable denying a vote and denying negotiations on the Obamacare subsidies. Democrats, who are usually agitating to reopen the government, they're very comfortable keeping the government shuttered, again, in order to shine a spotlight on the issue of healthcare. So it is a little bit surreal, honestly, the fact that there are real implications for the real economy, for data, as you mentioned. But again, folks are really comfortable. So our expectation, what we're telling clients, is that we could see potentially the government reopening in November. Maybe we could be in Thanksgiving. The government could still be shuttered. There is, it's an outlier, but there's also a tail risk that we may get to Christmas and the government's still shuttered. So this will, what our concern is this will have likely deeper economic impacts the longer this shutdown lasts. But again, no real political catalyst to reopen the government at this point.
Libby, I mean, and this is something that we were discussing, this morning, is that there doesn't feel to be any urgency because of the news flow, because there's so much actually that the Trump administration is also working on. But how much of this is they think they're winning the messaging around this, that this is about votes longer term or making the other party look bad?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is right. Again, I think that both sides think that they are winning with their respective bases. And if you look at polling, that's probably in some ways true. Each side sort of blames the other, which is, kind of the business as usual these days in Washington. However, usually shutdowns are a political loser for both parties, just by and large. And I think this is no exception. As the longer this goes and the more the government services are impaired, the more flights are delayed, the less able folks are to get a mortgage loan through FHA and what have you. I think the more folks are going to be mad at both sides. And you're already starting to see this a little bit in the polling. So that could be a catalyst. It could, but again, right now, both sides think that they're winning the messaging war. They think that they're winning kind of the political issue of the day. As you said, there really is no urgency. The House is not even in session. I mean, the House hasn't been in session for now going on 5 weeks, and they look like they will be out of session again next week. So again, we're expecting November to be the earliest that the government reopens. We could be until Christmas, however.
Libby, we also, President Trump, from what we understand, likes to negotiate. So could he just turn around and find a deal on health care?
Yeah, he is the wild card, and I think that is something it's a good thing to flag. I mean, he is. This is an issue, and just as a background, this is the issue kind of the day. The issue of the focus here is around these enhanced Obamacare subsidies. They were passed during COVID, and then they were extended in 2022, and they expire at the end of this year. And so Democrats think this is a good political issue. If you look at just again polling, voters usually rank healthcare as sort of the top 3 issue. In terms of the things that they vote on. So they do care about this. And I think that, President Trump, he knows sort of the zeitgeist of voters as well. So he is sort of the wild card here. You could see him pivot. I will just say, though, that, again, the longer this occurs, and the markets have sort of shrugged this off, but, I think our concern is that you start having some nonlinear economic impacts. Our view is that if this stays shuttered until November, you could see a point being shaved off of GDP. Now, some of that will be reinstated when the government reopens and federal workers get repaid. But the longer this goes, the more potential you have for sort of deeper economic scarring. And of course, as you said, no data. And the longer this goes, not only are we not going to have data releases, despite today, we're going to have no data collection. So these are, I think, going to be increasingly problematic, both for politicians, and again, Trump is the wild card here, but also for the real economy and then potentially for financial markets.
Libby, how difficult is it to try and understand, or what's your base case for what the talks between the U.S. and China could yield between the two presidents? And does that change the public discourse back in Washington?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. And here I'm in London. I was in Europe earlier this week, and of course, this is one of the top questions that we're receiving from clients is sort of what to make of this dynamic. And I think that the best that financial markets can hope for from this potential meeting between President Xi and President Trump is really a détente and not a deal. I think that the expectation for phase 2 trade deal or what have you, or something even more fulsome than that, something that even President Trump has outlined over the last few days, it's possible, but I don't think it's really probable at this point. In some ways, President Xi is taking a page out of President Trump's playbook from Trump 1.0. He is using some of these sort of economic coercion tactics that the U.S. has used against China, previously. And so, this is, I think, quite a different dynamic than, again, sort of the previous administration, or Trump 1.0, if you will. So again, I think that the expectation is, détente, the best case scenario, but not a deal. And I will just say, and something we're flagging for our clients, is that there is a tail risk here. And this, as we've seen, this relationship can deteriorate pretty quickly, not only in terms of a ratcheting up of tariffs, but I think more importantly, maybe to China and also to the U.S., these sort of export controls, whether it's on advanced technology or whether it's on rare earths. So this, I think that is the tail risk in the market, that this relationship, which is already fragile, sort of simmering, if you will, can boil over, really at any moment.